King John's epic fail, the explosive birth of Magna Carta. What if I told you that one of the most powerful kings in English history lost his crown to a mud puddle? That a group of angry barons cornered their monarch in a sheep-filled meadow and forced him to sign a document that would change the world forever? That this document, born from betrayal, rebellion, and a bridge explosion, would go on to inspire the U.S. Constitution, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the idea that no one is above the law. How did a spoiled youngest son become king against all odds? Why did he blow up a bridge just to attack his own castle? Welcome to the wild, muddy, and magnificently messy saga of King John and the Magna Carta. Once upon a time in medieval England, where the Wi-Fi was non-existent and the peasants were perpetually muddy, society was stacked like a very judgmental pyramid. At the bottom, peasants, who farmed land they didn't own and paid rent in sweat and turnips. Above them, the barons, rich landowners who got their estates as royal thank-you notes from the king. And at the top, the king himself, owner of everything, including your sheep, your taxes, and your soul, or so he claimed. This divine hierarchy was backed by the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury, who basically said, God made the king, so don't argue. And if you did argue, well, enjoy your new life as a dungeon decoration. Now, Henry Plantagenet was no ordinary king. He was empire-hungry. He married Eleanor of Aquitaine, who came with more land than a medieval monopoly board. Eleanor, ever the sass queen, probably said, behind every great king is a woman with a better real estate portfolio. Together they had 8 children, one of whom was John. Poor John. The medieval equivalent of the kid who gets the last slice of pie and it's mostly crust. As the youngest, he was never expected to rule. But fate, being the drama queen it is, had other plans. When Henry died, Richard the Lionheart took the throne. But Richard was more interested in crusading than ruling. He spent more time in chainmail than in England. In 1199, while trying to take a castle in Toulouse, Richard got shot with a crossbow and died. And just like that, John, yes, that John, became king. John's reign was like a medieval sitcom with no laugh track. He inherited a massive empire and a mountain of problems. France's King Philip II was breathing down his neck, trying to install his son Louis as England's new monarch. The Pope, Innocent III, wanted Stephen Langton to be Archbishop of Canterbury. John wanted someone else. Cue ecclesiastical drama. Stephen Langton was a brilliant scholar, a cardinal, and a man with a theological resume longer than a dragon's tail. Pope Innocent III appointed him Archbishop of Canterbury in 1207, but John, ever the control freak, refused to accept him. So the Pope hit back with the spiritual equivalent of a nuclear strike. He banned all religious ceremonies in England. No baptisms, no weddings, no funerals. England was spiritually grounded. Eventually, John panicked. Philip was sharpening his swords, and John needed divine backup. So he caved, paid a massive tribute to the Pope, and accepted Langton. The Pope forgave him, literally, like, all is forgiven, my child. Kind of forgiven. Meanwhile, the barons were simmering like a pot of medieval stew. John had lost most of his French territories, taxed them into oblivion, and treated them like medieval doormats. In 1214 he tried to win back his dignity at the Battle of Bouvines. He lost. Spectacularly. The barons had had enough. They renounced their allegiance, captured London, and even considered inviting Prince Louis of France to be their new king. That got John's attention faster than a trebuchet to the face. On June 15, 1215, the rebel barons cornered John at Runnymede, a neutral meadow that smelled of sheep and revolution. Barons, you have no choice. John, sweating profusely, fine. He slapped his royal seal on the Charter of Liberties, later known as the Magna Carta. It promised fair trials, limits on taxation, and that the king was not above the law. The barons cheered. Scribes made copies. Pigeons probably pooped on them. But John was playing medieval 4D chess. He secretly wrote to the Pope, "Help! They made me sign a thing." The Pope responded with holy fury, "Pope, we on behalf of Almighty God utterly reject and condemn this settlement. The charter is null and void forever." John, now spiritually backed and royally ticked off, declared war. First stop, Rochester Castle. The Magna Carta was supposed to be peace. Instead, it was the opening act of a civil war, and thus began one of the most dramatic chapters in English history, where a reluctant king, a bunch of angry barons, and a very opinionated pope accidentally created the foundation for modern democracy. But wait, there was a bridge in the way. John, never one for subtlety, blew up Rochester Bridge like a medieval action hero. No dramatic speeches, just boom, and off he marched to the castle. For 7 long weeks he laid siege. The barons inside held out with grit, gruel, and probably a lot of passive-aggressive muttering. Eventually, they surrendered. John was victorious. But while he was busy playing Castle Crasher, a new plot twist arrived. Prince Louis of France. Yes, that Louis sailed into London like he was auditioning for the role of King of England. The rebel barons, fed up with John and his royal tantrums, swore allegiance to Louis faster than you can say, bonjour. Now, the only thing standing between Louis and the throne was one very sickly, very paranoid King John. Loving this medieval madness? Hit subscribe now and join the rebellion against boring history. In October, John raced toward Lincoln, probably muttering, I'll show them all. But fate had other plans. He started feeling unwell, dysentery, the medieval equivalent of a death sentence with extra discomfort. Then came his most infamous blunder. John, in a rush to escape or regroup or just flee from his problems, decided to cross the Wash, a tidal estuary known for its quicksand and mood swings. He didn't wait for the tide to go out. His baggage train, loaded with royal treasures, got stuck in the mud and was swallowed by the sea. Gold, jewels, crown jewels, glub, glub, glub. It was the most literal case of losing the crown in history. John made it as far as Newark, broke, alone, and leaking dignity. He died of dysentery in October 1216. No fanfare, no royal parade, just a very sad, very muddy ending. With John gone, his 9-year-old son Henry was crowned king. The coronation was so rushed they used a plain gold ring, probably borrowed from someone's jewelry box. Henry. Hello there, I'm King Henry. The barons, tired of French accents and royal drama, preferred a boy they could advise over a Frenchman they couldn't control. But, I thought I was. Barons. Au revoir, Louis. Bye. Ciao. Louis packed up his crown dreams and sailed home, probably sulking all the way. Henry's regent, the legendary knight William Marshal, stepped in like a medieval superhero. To calm the barons and stabilize the realm, he reissued the Charter of Liberties, this time as a royal charter. William Marshal, we've removed the really troublesome clauses. Still, the barons weren't fully convinced, so in 1217 he reissued it again, this time as part of the peace treaty to end the Civil War. In 1217, the charter got a sibling, the Charter of the Forest, which protected commoners' rights to use royal forests. The original charter was written on a bigger sheet of vellum, so it earned a new name, Magna Carta, Latin for Great Charter. And that's the name that stuck. In 1225, Henry III needed money. Cue the reissue of Magna Carta, this time with a royal flourish. Henry III, I issue this Magna Carta of my own free will. In 1297, his son Edward I had the same problem. Edward I, I need more money to fight the Scots and the Welsh. So he reissued Magna Carta again, and this time it was entered into the statute rolls as English law. From now on, if a king wanted to change it, he had to ask Parliament first. Magna Carta was the first bold step toward a society where everyone has rights. No one is above the law. Kings can't just do whatever they want, even if they have cool crowns. It became the blueprint for legal systems around the world: USA, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, India, and more. Today, about a quarter of the world's population lives under governments inspired by Magna Carta. After World War II, the United Nations wanted to protect human rights globally. Eleanor Roosevelt led the charge, crafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. She called it a Magna Carta for all mankind. Magna Carta wasn't just a medieval document, it was a spark. Over 8 centuries, it's inspired revolutions, reforms, and the belief that justice belongs to everyone. And now, it's up to us. We are all responsible for making society fairer, more just, and more humane. We are all guardians of human rights. So next time someone says, "What's the big deal about Magna Carta?" you can tell them it's the reason we have rights, laws, and the power to say, "No, Your Majesty, you can't tax my sheep without asking Parliament first." Next up, Eleanor of Aquitaine, powerful queen. Think King John's story was wild? Just wait. Next up, we meet the woman who made kings, married kings, and mothered kings, Eleanor of Aquitaine. She ruled lands, led crusades, defied imprisonment, and rewrote the rules of royal power. How did she become queen of both France and England? Why did she join a crusade dressed in armor? What made her rebel against her own husband? Stay tuned, be generous, subscribe, and help grow the channel.